start in 30 seconds?
Yes, sir. Yes, Atul, we can.
Professor Atul, we are expecting much more. So maybe we could wait for another 5 minutes.
Sure, we can wait for another couple of minutes.
Yeah, then we will have the introductions and eventually I think people will join in.
I think that's good. That's good. That's okay. I think we're also live on Facebook now. So let's go around. I think till we start, we can check with Vivek. He's very cued with the bureaucracy and what's happening in the government. So Vivek, how are things in North India in general? What's the mood like? What's happening with COVID? What's your sense? I know you speak to a lot of doctors, motivating them.
Yeah. Thank you, Atul. Yeah, it's getting slightly better. I think there's a dip in the number of cases in North India, especially also in other parts of India. So my real feeling is that with the onset of summer, it's going to, I'm not an expert, but it's going to reduce rapidly. The summer has not really come in full form. We don't see any loo, or we don't see any high temperatures yet. People may be very comfortable with this weather, but I think the virus will be uncomfortable with the searing heat of India. Last year it was different. This year, let's hope it goes down rapidly.
Yeah, let's hope. Back in rural Himachal, things are getting a little bad. So I think rural India might be getting bad. So one of the things that we have done, Renu ma'am, at Shulini is we've all come together and we've contributed to create a fairly sizable fund. So I'm very excited to share, Vivek, that our fund is now touched around 95 lakhs that we have created through friends and family. And thank you, Vivek, you've also contributed. By the way, if Shikha, I'm going to be sending a note on that you might want to contribute to later on. I'm sorry I never did. And we are actually taking COVID relief to the villages of Himachal. So we have picked up 3-4 different health centers across rural Himachal, which we are trying to give, upgrading their infrastructure and giving them oxygen and beds and oximeters and PPE kits and the likes. And it sometimes surprises me how lean our health centers in rural India are, how bad healthcare is. And sometimes I'm right now feeling so privileged, Vivek, because in cities and towns where we are, despite all the challenges, we're still very, very lucky.
Yeah.
I think it's a nice gesture of yours. You have taken this initiative, and we need more people like this to be doing for our country, because looking at our population.
Absolutely, ma'am. So if Manju ma'am allows and Renu ma'am you allow, should we start? I think we allow 5 minutes and we've got 90 odd participants. Is that okay, Manju ma'am? Oh, probably Manju ma'am is not there.
Mukta ma'am.
Are you referring to me, Professor Atul?
Mukta ma'am, sorry.
Yeah.
Mukta
Yeah,
ma'am.
sure, we can.
So
Ruchi? Yeah, please do the honors.
So Shikha, quickly over to you and then we'll start. So once again, good afternoon, everyone. Over to you, Shikha.
Thank you. Thank you, sir. A very warm welcome for today's Ideas That Matter webinar series. Through this series, we want to create an environment where ideas travel and creativity blossoms. When the mind is without fear, we can do wonders. Our mission is very simple: create mind, create path, and change things. It is first of its kind initiative by New Age Research, Shulini University. Thank you, GD Goenka School, for giving us this opportunity. Both the institutions, we share the common vision to inspire, motivate students and teachers. I am Shikha Sood, Head of Outreach, Shulini University. I give you a very hearty warm welcome. I'm very excited to welcome Dr. Renu Sehgal, Principal, GD Goenka School, Mukta Kohli ma'am, and all the teachers, students, and parents who have taken time out to watch us live. I'm also pleased to welcome our very special guests of the day, Mr. Vivek Athre and Professor Atul Khosla. Before we hand over the webinar to them, I would request Mukta ma'am to address us all. Over to you, Mukta ma'am.
Good morning, good afternoon, rather, everyone. A very warm welcome to all of you. We are honored to have with us you all, especially our esteemed speakers, Professor Atul Khosla and Mr. Vivek Atre.
Thank you.
Professor Atul Khosla is a Vice Chancellor at Shulini University, Kasauli Hills, India's leading research-centric university. He is a BTech from Indian Institute of Technology, Kanpur, and MBA from Jamnalal Bajaj Institute of Management Studies, Mumbai. He has been an entrepreneur for the last 15 years and founded Everest Group's businesses in India and Asia in 2003 to 2006. Subsequently, he moved to Switzerland, where he built a Connect Egg into global consulting business. He then moved back to India in 2008 and founded Oliver Wyman's India's business. He has recently co-founded Adu, an edtech startup based out of Chandigarh, India. Atul is a regular speaker at several Indian and global universities and business schools. As a motivational speaker during COVID, Atul has co-hosted more than 100 webinars with luminaries and experts such as Anupam Kher, Yuvraj Singh, Kiran Bedi, Dia Mirza, among others. An avid leader, Atul is currently enrolled in 8 MOC's courses at Harvard and other online platforms. We welcome you, sir.
Thank you.
Just give me a moment. I will share my screen again.
Ma'am, we can't hear. I think there was a music also behind.
I will play it when it comes. Thank you, Professor Atul, for being with us today. We're also honored to have Mr. Vivek Atre with us. Mr. Vivek Atre is a motivational speaker, author, mentor, advisor, columnist, and visiting professor. He resigned from Indian Administrative Services in 2017. He has 6 TEDx talks and 2 highly popular Josh talks. His talks have received over 1.50 million views on YouTube. He's founder of Suvichar think tank. He's advisor and professor at Shulini University. He's also a founder of the Vibrant Networking Forum and the Chandigarh Literary Society and co-convener of INTAC Chandigarh. He speaks regularly on the nuances of leadership, good governance, emotional intelligence, life skills, people skills, public speaking skills, meditation, calmness, entrepreneurship, education, and sports. He has inspired thousands of youngsters to adopt a cheerful, positive, and multidimensional approach. We welcome you. We're also honored to have with us our esteemed principal, Dr. Renu Sehgal, who has been a guiding force and a light behind all these programs. Thank you, ma'am. I would also like to welcome our dear parents and students for taking out time from their busy schedule and being with us here today. I welcome you all. I think we can move over now to the webinar. So I will stop sharing the screen and the stage is all yours, Professor Khosla.
Thank you very much, Mukta ma'am. And once again, what a pleasure it is, teachers, students, parents, to be with you today. I hear it's raining in Greater Noida, and I'm sure the weather is also beautiful. So welcome to a beautiful day. I know it's been tough times, but as they say, tough times never last, tough people do. And I'm sure all of you, all students, teachers, and parents are extremely tough. So that's one thing that's never going to change, whether the times are certain or uncertain. And that's a topic for us today. We're going to talk about, especially in education, what is certain in these uncertain times? What do you think is not going to change despite all these fundamental changes that are happening in the way education is being delivered? There's a new education policy that has come up by the government of India that's going to change things. There is online that is coming up due to COVID, and a bunch of new thoughts and perspectives coming up as far as education goes. But some fundamentals will never change. And that's what Vivek and I are going to talk to you today. Vivek is a dear friend, and as Mukta ma'am already said, he's an inspirational speaker, a motivational speaker, an author of books, an ex-IAS officer, and someone extremely, extremely inspiring. He follows what's happening in this world through his readings and through his writings, and we're very, very excited to have Vivek with us today. Vivek also advises Shulini in a bunch of our initiatives, including reaching out to students and also speaking to students on issues of leadership. And probably Vivek might touch up on topics of leadership, because leadership, despite uncertain times or certain times, is never going to change. My name is Atul Khosla. I'm the Vice Chancellor and co-founder of Shulini University. A minute about Shulini. We founded Shulini around 10 years back. We are located very close to Kasauli in Himachal Pradesh. And the objective is very simple. How do we make all of you students world beaters? How do we bring flexibility, inspiration, and creativity into higher learning, into university education? I remember when I went to IIT, dear students, it was very boring, difficult 4 years. From wanting to become an engineer, I decided not to become an engineer, and I moved to becoming an MBA. Why did that happen? It happened because my education was not research-centric, was not inspirational, was not innovative. So all the excitement I had before joining IIT was killed in my 4 years. And that's the change that we are trying to bring in at Shulini. We're trying to make sure that we can help blossom all those exciting things that you want to do, all those new things that you want to learn, and all the wonderful things that you want to do to change the world. So with that introduction, I'm going to hand it over to Vivek. The format would be around 10 to 15 minutes of Vivek speaking, giving his initial thoughts. I'll add to that, and then we'll have Vivek give his closing comments. But students and teachers and professors and parents, our real value will come through a discussion. The energy that we get in terms of talking to you will come through a discussion. So we've got small 2 tabs out there, a Q&A tab or a chat tab. So any question you have about anything that you've been worried about or you're excited about, just put that question over there, and I promise you, Vivek and I will try to answer every question. In fact, we're also going to get Renu ma'am and Mukta ma'am into a panel discussion towards the end of the webinar, and hopefully we can have a very exciting discussion which involves all of us, not just Vivek and I. So Vivek, over to you, and I'll come back in another 10 minutes. Vivek Atre for all of you, dear friends.
Thank you so much, Atul, Professor Atul Khosla. Thank you, Renu ma'am and Mukta ma'am, for the warm welcome. Thank you, Shikhar, for putting this together. It's a part of our series, Ideas That Matter, which have reached, I think, thousands of teachers and parents right now, and of course, students. And it's a wonderful way to reach out, even though we cannot be with you in your school or your institution. We are doing our best to spread some light, some positivity, some cheerfulness, some creative thoughts, some leadership thoughts amidst these tough times, which we are all facing. But then we're all facing them differently. I often talk about partnerships, and Atul and I have done more than 200 of these webinars. And I'm a cricketer, so I'll talk about maybe the best opening partnership in one days that India had was Tendulkar-Ganguly and Tendulkar-Sehwag. So Atul and I hopefully are similar. So if we are resilient, if we depend on each other, we have faith in each other, we have faith in God, we have faith in ourselves, then fear reduces. Faith is inversely proportionate to fear, and fear goes down the moment faith goes up. It is very, very difficult for us to remain constantly fearless, although it's a quality mentioned in the Gita. We're talking about changing times and what is certain in uncertain times. The Gita says that one of the 26 qualities of God is fearlessness. It's the first one actually listed there. Human beings will go through ups and downs. We're all going through ups and downs. And but some of us will be affected more than others by all reverses, all problems, all destructive tendencies that the world may have. And some of us will be relatively fearless and strong and able to handle these pressures. So can we at least be as mentally strong as another human being, even if not as much as God or not perfect? So we will have our lows. Students will have their lows in terms of preparing for competitions and exams and uncertainty reigning around them, not sure what is going to happen, when are they going to be back in school and college, whatever. So here in this case, since we're talking about school students and their parents, I can say one thing, that we will be back at school. And if parents are concerned or children are concerned that that may never happen, or that may happen after many years, or that may happen after very long, please don't be concerned like that. We are in the midst of a terrible second wave, but even the virus will tire out sometime, given India's size of population. So, but let's be mentally strong as much as we can be, in order to become, let's say, never to say die spirited, so that we can be like someone like Arunima Sinha. I often give the example of Arunima Sinha. So she lost her legs in a train dacoity, and she was a volleyball player for emerging player for India. She wanted to play for India, the Asiad or whatever India participated in, but she could not because she lost her legs. And she became wheelchair borne, and then she got artificial limbs, prosthetic limbs. She started walking in those, started trekking in those. And you will not believe, if you don't know about her, that she even conquered Mount Everest on artificial legs. And she's written a book now about that. So you can read about Arunima Sinha. We are all going through ups and downs in life. The saint said that a smooth life is not a successful life. A smooth life is not a successful life. These ups and downs, they teach us. Failure is a great teacher. I often speak to entrepreneurs, Atul and I do, we speak about how to learn from failure and reverses and setbacks and problems and troubles. You cannot remain on a high all the time. Even the richest man in the world, the richest men in the world got separated from their wives because they could not handle their own domestic issues or whatever they had. Power, money, and fame are no guarantees to being mentally strong and happy. So power, we know how unhappy Donald Trump always looked and how unhappy he made all of us as well. We know how fame is fleeting. Fame will go away very soon. Even Dhoni is on the retirement mode. Kohli is, let's say, 5 years away from being similar. And Shah Rukh Khan is on the decline. Even the great Salman Khan, who thinks he's great, is also on the decline. So it's time for us to realize that the journey is what matters. Inner strength is what matters. Inner peace is what matters. And there's a quote that as a 16-year-old, I used to look up to people with luxury. And today I look up to people with inner peace. Ultimately, it doesn't matter if your car is bigger or smaller, as long as it gets you to Delhi or Bombay or wherever you're driving. It really doesn't matter how much money you have if you're comfortable enough. Yes, healthcare is the key issue of the era of this year, at least, and the previous year. We need to be healthy. We need to focus on our body, mind, and soul. So in my book, Finding Success Within, I have mentioned this, and I talk about the fact that we really need to balance our lives. This is just a glimpse at the cover of my book. It's called Finding Success Within. And that's my picture in case I don't look like it. I'm still the same person. Finding success within is basically about how we balance our lives. You have a body, you have a mind, and you are a soul. According to the scriptures, we are souls with bodies and minds. So we look after each of them. We don't only go after materialistic pursuits, physical activity, overeating, and not exercising, or even exercising and looking after our body. And then the mind, what are we feeding our mind? Are we feeding the mind TV news? Are we feeding the mind negative forwards? Are we feeding the mind too much time on Instagram and Facebook, and not Facebook, it's out of fashion, on Instagram? So are we doing that and not really paying any attention to our souls, which are the true selves? So can we meditate morning and evening for a while? I speak on meditation, and I follow the autobiography of a yogi, which I must show you also, which in case you haven't seen before. This is the autobiography of a yogi, a global bestseller by Paramhansa Yogananda, and it is translated into 52 languages. Shulini University has a beautiful Yogananda library, by the way, and a Yogananda Center of Theology, which I'm also a part of. So I must say that we need to balance our lives. And then change is the only constant. We are in the middle of changing times. People say the new normal, the new normal. Now, the new normal is normal, regular. So this new normal always keeps evolving. Every year we have something new, some new gadgets, some new troubles, some new ways of thinking, new ways of dressing, new hairstyles, which especially boys of class 11 and 12 often have. I haven't seen them for a year and a quarter because I haven't been to these classrooms. But I'm sure the hairstyles have grown even more creative in the meantime, especially because they couldn't get haircuts. But my point is that a sense of humor, a bit of cheer, a bit of inspiration, and all of us are leaders. We are all leaders. Class 8 student is a leader because a class 6 student looks up to her or him. And even the head Mali is a leader of the group of Malis in the school. So it is important for us to understand that as human beings, as leaders, we need to exhibit balanced quality, mental toughness, positivity, and creativity, which we often talk about, Atul and I, in these webinars. Creativity is a great balm for the soul, for the mind, for the body. Sports, art, music, photography, writing, poetry, prose, whatever you can. We are also involved in a lot of literary activities at Shulini. And I'm also the co-founder of Chandigarh Literary Society. So all of you who write, all of you who paint or draw or play or pictures which are artistic or nature photography, anything, music is super. For some reason, I and my family never used to watch much TV earlier, and I never used to watch Indian Idol. But now, in the last few weeks or months, I've been watching, and what talent! Superb. Music actually lights up your soul. So find ways to stay cheerful, progressive, constructive, and not give in to negativity and bitterness and complaining tendency, criticism. Very easy to find poke holes at somebody. But if there's a beautiful room and there's one black spot on the wall, don't keep on looking at that black spot. Look at the beauty of life and the room. Over to you, Atul. I think I'm done with my inspirational dose, and I'll be back later. And please add value to it. Over to you.
Thank you so much, Vivek. And what wonderful thoughts. You know what I'm going to do, Vivek, is I'm going to share 5 stories. And students and teachers and parents, if you were expecting me to talk about mathematics, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to talk about 5 things which I think will not change. And education to me, if I think about my previous 30 years, is yes about analytics, yes about marks, and those are important. But I think it was 4 or 5 key learnings that I had over the last 30 years, which are very, very important, and they might be a little repetitive to what Vivek is saying. So I'm going to share 5 stories, Vivek, through a small presentation. 5 stories that I believe are extremely, extremely important and will continue to remain important, whether things are becoming digital, or there's going to be COVID, or there's going to be a maramari, or whatever it is. And these are relevant things across. And as you grow older, students, you'll see the value of these things. And hopefully, all of you can bring these things into your life, even as young students. The first story is about Subodh Kerker. Subodh Kerker is a very dear friend of mine. He's a Goan. He lives in Goa. And I'm sure all of you want to be in Goa, right? Subodh Kerker is a trained doctor. He was a doctor in his, he's a surgeon. He's a gastroenterologist. But Subodh Kerker is also one of Goa's leading artists today. He left his medicine and he started something called the Museum of Goa. He's a founder of that. So any one of you who's been to Goa, I'm sure has been to the Museum of Goa. And you'll see amazing art over there. And I spent a week with Subodh on a course called Immersion into Art. And what Subodh taught me, which I think is so relevant for all of us, and we forget in our pursuit of science, is an appreciation towards art. And I'll take an example over here. So can students tell me what is this that you see in front of you? Well, it's a piece of art, of course. It's a photograph, but it's also a chili. So what is the significance of chili in Subodh's art? I wish I had more time to talk about it and get your inputs, but let me just get into the details of this piece of art and why Subodh has put this piece of art together. Most of us think that chilies are Indian. Most of us believe that Indians brought chili to the world because we all love chilies. But you know that chilies were brought into India through Goa by Vasco da Gama. It was South Americans who brought chili, who grew chilies, and Indians did not know anything about chilies till the 15th century, till Vasco da Gama came and landed in India. So the significance of this piece of art is it's actually on the same beach where Vasco da Gama landed in Goa, and it demonstrates the consequence and significance of chilies in our life. Now you will ask yourself, why should I worry about it? You should worry about it because nothing can change history, my dear students. And your appreciation towards history will come through your appreciation towards art. So of course, limited history in Noida, because Noida is a young city. But let's go into Delhi. Let's understand the city of Delhi. I don't know whether you know, students, but every 200 meters of Delhi has got history under it. Everywhere there's history. And a small story over here, Mukta ma'am. My young son, very young son, I took him to New Delhi, Hauz Khas. Hauz Khas is in New Delhi, as all of you know. And we went to Hauz Khas village. And my young son asked me this question, Vivek. Siddharth asked me, he says, Papa, he was very young at that point of time. He was probably 8 years old. He said, Papa, why is Hauz Khas New Delhi? Hauz Khas was built by Alauddin Khilji, which is 1,000 years old. This should be Old Delhi. And I didn't have an answer towards that. And that's what art does to you. So look at art, appreciate art. So I'll encourage the students and parents to expose your students, your children towards art. And the more they can appreciate art, the better they're going to be as human beings, the better scientists they're going to be. Again, I don't know whether you know, but one of the biggest connoisseurs of art as an artist was Einstein. He was an artist. So was Newton. Because art brings creativity. And that's my second point. That's my second story. This is my second boss when I started working, a Dutchman called Kito de Boer. And in those days, I would work on mathematical models. And you would think that mathematical models are boring. And how can mathematical models be creative? And Kito de Boer told me and taught me that whatever happens in the world, you have to bring creativity in everything that you do. You can bring creativity into the way you learn. For example, learning through stories rather than learning through rote. You can bring creativity in the way you write your answers, dear students. And I'll give a small example over here. Teachers don't kill me, but I'll put the small answer, small example. When I was 11-year-old and my elder brother was 12 and he was in his 6th standard, the teacher made them write an essay on a visit to Simla. So in our days, in our school, and of course your school is very different, it's very progressive, the teacher would dictate an essay. I went to Simla, I went to Museum A, I went to Museum B, I went to Museum C, I did XYZ, and he was supposed to verbatim repeat that in the final exam. Now my elder brother is very creative. So every time we would go to Simla with my father, the first thing we would do is we would eat pastries over there. We would then eat ice cream, then we would eat chole bhature, and then we would probably walk around, and before leaving, we would eat ice cream again. So Ashish, in his excitement, wrote that in his essay. So he wrote, we eat Simla and I eat ice cream. So it was all about eating. And his teacher, Mukta ma'am, gave him 0 marks out of 10. Right? Because he had not written what the teacher was expecting him to write. So my dad, being very aggressive, went out and fought with the teacher and said, how can he give 0? She wasn't convinced, of course. But the point was that Ashish had seeded creativity into his answers. And you can do that in everything that you do, students. Creativity in dealing with your parents. Go and hug them and tell them that you love them. Creativity in building a lovely meal. You can do anything and everything. And whatever education you do, you have to bring creativity into whatever you do. Teachers can bring creativity into the way they teach, and I'm sure you do that all the time. Parents can bring creativity in terms of teaching their children on ethics and values, which become very, very important. And I'm going to talk about that. I think the third is a story around a friend of mine. His name is Nils Hagander. Nils has been my boss. And he's a very avid pilot. He owns 3 planes and he's a very successful professional. And you'll expect professionals to be boring people. You'll expect them to be, working all the time. But here was Nils flying all the time, and he made me learn that whatever happens in the world, we need to follow our passion. So all of you have some passion, students. Even parents, I'm sure you have passion. I'm sure, Mukta ma'am, you have some hobbies too. So follow that hobby. Every day spend an hour on that hobby. Build that into something that you're excited about. Let me tell you, students, when I go and meet with my clients and I go and meet with senior people in the world, let's say I'm having a meeting with Ratan Tata. Ratan Tata is not interested to talk about mathematics. He wants to understand my passion. I also fly. For example, I'm a qualified pilot. Vivek is extremely passionate about, for example, meditation. These are the type of things that where conversation starts, and that's how you build your relationships, and that's how you grow in your profession, in your business, or whatever else that you want to do. So that's my thought to all of you. As students, don't you love to hear stories of passion from your teachers or from your parents? A small little thought, and this is quite stupid, Vivek, but I remember I used to be extremely passionate about a cartoon character called Phantom. So Phantom was a cartoon character which I would read. Students, pata nahi hota hai shayad. Archie's, Tintin, and Phantom was something. And there used to be a peppermint called Phantom cigarette. It was like a cigarette, right? And it was a peppermint, and we used to love it and used to have it. And I mean, I remember when I gave my first interview, Vivek, and we started talking about sweets, and I started talking about Phantom cigarettes, and 50% of the interview was talking about Phantom and Phantom cigarettes, and not about mathematics or business, what I was being interviewed for. And I got selected. And that's the beauty of passion. That's the beauty of stories. Because remember, students, if it's your passion, you will know way more than anyone else about it. No one knows more about flying than Nils Hagander. And if he's interviewing someone and he starts talking about his passion, he's bound to be selected. Am I right? So build your passion is my third thing. Whatever happens in the world, your passion has to be intact. The fourth is Mahatma Gandhi. And who doesn't know Mahatma Gandhi? Mahatma Gandhi, story behind Mahatma Gandhi, and I would encourage all of you to read his book, My Experiments with Truth. Talks about why he moved into independence of India. And while we consider him the father of the nation and consider him the person who gave us independence, his passion and his journey and his purpose was not to give India independence, by the way. His purpose was to bring truth to the world. And his purpose was to bring justness to the world. And independence was a function of that justness. He did not fight for independence. He fought for truth and justness for the Indian people. So the fourth thing, whatever happens in the world, follow truth, my dear students, dear teachers, dear parents. It's truth that's going to take you far. Whatever anyone tells you, there's stories about kachua and rabbit and say कि जो चालाक बच्चा होता है वो खरगोश की तरह होता है, आगे निकल जाता है, और जो truth बोलता है वो पीछे रह जाता है. You would have heard those stories. Don't believe them. Vivek will also tell you that truth is what takes things forward. And that's what Mahatma Gandhi teaches us. And my final thing is both Vivek and my guru, which is Paramhansa Yogananda. And he says, bring yoga and meditation into your lives. Pursue the joy of yoga and meditation. Paramhansa Yogananda was one of the world's most famous yogis, and he's written the book Autobiography of a Yogi. And I so wish, Vivek, I had started my pursuit when I was a small child. My parents had pursued and pushed me towards it. I would have been, so flexible by now, and I would have been so sthir by now. But anyway, it's never too late. Meditation to start with children can come from starting to spend just 10 minutes or 5 minutes or 2 minutes. Play sports. Sports could be the first movement into getting your mind focused and free. Get away from your mobile. I think these are things which I'd like to say. And finally, my last pitch is going to be around my mentor, my guru, Steve Jobs. And Steve Jobs would say, think different. Be crazy in the way you think. Do not worry about what the world would say. Because it's the crazy ones. It's the ones who think outside the box. If the ones who believe who can change the world are the ones who change the world. And I'm going to play a small video on this before I hand it back over to Vivek. Here it is.
Here's to the crazy ones, the misfits, the rebels, the troublemakers, the round pegs in the square holes, the ones who see things differently. They're not fond of rules, and they have no respect for the status quo. You can quote them, disagree with them, glorify or vilify them. About the only thing you can't do is ignore them, because they change things. They push the human race forward. While some may see them as the crazy ones, we see genius. Because the people who are crazy enough to think they can change the world are the ones who do.
So that was from my side, 5 stories. Hopefully you'll remember some of them, my dear students. But I think, in my opinion, this is education. Yes, education is about mathematics, Hindi, physics, English, but becoming great human beings, as Vivek laid out, is really the start of education, and your education is going to last all your lives. Vivek, over to you.
Thank you so much, Atul. Very inspiring indeed. All the personalities you mentioned, the stories you mentioned, one can seek inspiration from them and find it. Actually, it's also a factor of our receptivity. The sun is shining equally among all of us, upon all of us. Some of us perceive it differently to others. And there is a saying that, the diamond and the charcoal, the sunshine is reflected by one and absorbed by the other. They both have different qualities. So all of us have to be receptive to goodness, to creative thoughts, to leadership. There's no point in being brilliant without being able to communicate your leadership. There is no point in being successful without making people around you feel happy and comfortable. If your family is on edge and your friends are not very happy with the fact that you don't have time for them, that means you need to recheck your success, reevaluate your life, and find out where you can make corrections and make calmer decisions and spend more time with yourself and family. I think calmness is a great friend in all this change and all this chaos and all that keeps happening. So a calm mind will help us. A calm mind will give us a lot of stability, the ability to tackle reverses and ups and downs, upheavals. I think a calm mind is something which gives us a lot of mental strength, physical strength, also gives us a lot of cheerfulness. And calmness is a great quality to possess. People who are calm, not fidgety, not worried, not restless, not scared, not jumpy, they are solid, and they reflect that aura of calmness, of solidity. And whatever goes wrong, they never look as if they're panicking. And they may be panicking within, but they never let their followers or their juniors or their family members know. And they are human after all. Calmness is a great virtue to work upon, to kind of grow within yourself. If you meditate, it's a great idea, morning and evening. It will help you to become calmer. You can also test yourself in testing situations. You can also find out what really makes me lose my calmness. Is it some person? Is it some event or activity or some irritating kind of happening? Is it that important to lose your calmness when that happens? Or can you remain calm despite all these provocations? And can we respond in a calmer manner than we normally do? Also, forgiveness is a great virtue. And the Bible says, forgive somebody 70 times 7, which means endlessly, basically. I know it's 490, but it means endlessly. So it means that don't live with grudges, revenge, tensions. And you also know that health depends on a stress-free mind. So Atul mentioned sports. Balance your lives with sporting activities, with physical fitness, reading a lot of books. In our family and friend circle, we read a lot of books and we talk about them, we discuss them. I've also written 3 of them and a 4th one is coming. So if you can read and write more in your life, then Instagram won't suffer. They'll keep going on. So don't worry about Instagram. Come back to your book for half an hour, 45 minutes. And when you go back to Instagram, it's still over there. It's not gone anywhere. So it won't miss you. Take out time for yourself and then you'll be happier. Atul, we have about 15 minutes for interactions, I think. We should go to interactions now.
Absolutely, Vivek. Thank you very much. I think we'd love to have your comments and questions. So please keep, putting them down on Q&A. We'd love to hear from you. Sid, by the way, Sid is also my son's name. Sid is saying, sir, art is only a thing that we can image and draw. I think what you're saying is art is about imagination. I agree with you that art is about imagination, Sid, but art is in many forms. Art is in the form of a picture that you draw. It could be in the form of a sculpture. It could be a photograph. Music is art. It's a performing art. Movies are a piece of art. In fact, landscaped gardens that people create are pieces of art. So art has no bounds, and it's all about your imagination, Sid, around what you can create. Science uses art. I'm told that Einstein's theory of relativity is a piece of art. It was his imagination. It was not some experiment that he did in the lab that gave him that imagination gave him that power to come up with the theory of relativity. So that's the way I think about it, Sid, but you have to discover it yourself and you have to figure out what art means to you. And we all have different definitions of it. Vivek, a good question from Sampa Bose is asking, Vasco da Gama was a Portuguese, but how come he brought chili from South America? Okay, a very good question. And I love this because you're asking questions. And this is such a good question. Well, the Portuguese, if you've heard about the story of Columbus, the Spaniards and the Portuguese were the ones who went to South America and discovered South America. They are the ones who actually went there and they moved into India from South America. So if you had to come from Portugal to India, you had to come all the way from Cape of Good Hope, which was first around South America, then around Africa, then come back into India. That was the only way. There was no Suez Canal at that point of time, Sampa. So Vasco da Gama first went to South America, picked up his chilies, and then ended up in Goa and introduced chilies to India. That's geography and that's history. So I hope you learned a little bit about it. Any thoughts on this one, Vivek, about the value of history in learning?
Oh, yeah. I wish I was a better student of history. I find it very fascinating now. In fact, I'm reading a book on Jahangir at the moment. And it's good to know all kinds of leaders who led parts of our country at that time. History is a fascinating story. And there are many writers nowadays of historical fiction. So what they do, as you know, they fictionalize these characters and they bring in a lot of romance and passion and lots of intrigue and drama into their lives. It's a fascinating subject.
I know it is. So that's one thing which at least fascinates me a lot. So I'll encourage again all of you to read history. Advita Dikshit is saying this is inspirational. It's making me happy and inspired in these gloomy times. Again, I'll say gloomy times won't last, ma'am. Or Advita, yeah, this must be a she. So be happy. I think that's again very, very important. And we'll be delighted to keep on talking to you. I think that's Deepshikha. So we'll be delighted to come back and talk to you. You know, Vivek also does a lot of motivational talks, not just in topics like this, but beyond that. So happy. Anonymous attendee and Priyavrat are writing no. And I don't know what this no is about. So help us understand what this no is about and we'll definitely respond to it. And there's a question which says, why schools and colleges make us learn the bookish learning, but not about investing in some kind of mutual funds or experience learning? You want to talk about that?
Yes. Well, let me tell you that I know nothing about mutual funds even today, and I don't pretend or I don't want to also get into too much of this. But experiential learning is definitely a good idea. And we were talking yesterday, Atul and I, about the new education policy. Whether there's a policy or not, education needs to be more creative and experiential. And we need to simulate real life and get students to mingle with others who are different from them, to carry out activities, to be more practical in their learning and education. So I think that is a flaw when we are only doing bookish learning, and definitely we need to make them more. And that is something which is happening in good schools, and I'm sure that your school also does it.
You know, I'm going to bring in Dr. Renu at this point of time because she is such a noted educationist. And I also sometimes wonder, ma'am, no one wants boring, bookish knowledge, but somehow in the majority of schools and universities and colleges, it's still roting, learning, remembering. Why is it so difficult to change? You know, the new education policy says move to creativity, but apart from some good schools like yours and some good universities like ours, the education is very mediocre. Why is that so, Renu ma'am? What's your thought? You are muted, ma'am.
Thank you, Vivekji, and thank you, Atulji, for your inspiring thing. But the question which you have put up, I think it is soon going to change when we have NEP 2020 coming in to be implemented. But you know, the learning, the experiential learning, if we really think into detail, it starts from the childhood itself. But then what happens as we grow, and then the schools and some universities which are not emphasizing on experiential learning, where children do not, you know, take it to a rote learning. So our education system still needs a reform, because in our country, what I feel it used to happen that teaching as a profession used to be picked up by the teachers, as a last alternative. So that I think now that is not the case. The people are following their passion, and when the passionate teachers are there, I'm sure things are going to soon change. Because the other day I saw a very lovely video which I shared with my teachers. There were 4 candles which were burning, and they were whispering with each other in a very silent environment. The first candle, speaks and says, I am peace. I'm going to die, and people are very angry in this world, and there is no peace. And the candle gets lit off. The second candle comes and speaks and whispers, I am faith. And people do not have faith now, and they do not trust each other, and that candle also gets lit off. The third candle comes and says, I'm love. As the peace and the faith is not there, so love is also not going to survive. The fourth candle was still, lit, and it was burning, and the child enters, and the child starts crying, looking at 3 candles being lit off. The fourth candle whispers in the ears of the child, a child, I'm hope. I'm still burning. You can relit the other 3 candles with this hope. So, the 3 candles, the child picks up the lit candle and again lit those, the burning candle, and again revives those lit candles. So, it is the hope which has to be there first, I would say. And the fourth, this hope will revive the faith. And once the faith is revived, then the love is going to regenerate. And once the love is regenerated, I'm sure the peace is going to be there. So we all have to move with the faith and the love and the hope, hoping that our country will have a good education system, and we will have experiential learning, and teachers would make it more creative. And I'm sure the ones who have even taken this as a profession by chance, they also should, involve their passion into this. So whenever you are passionate, junoon jab aa jata hai, to things are very different. तो वो अपने काम से इश्क करना आना चाहिए. So I think things will come
क्या
up.
बात है मैम,
And
so wonderful. It reminds me of a dialogue of Shah Rukh Khan. इतनी शिद्दत से तुम्हें पाने की कोशिश की है कि हर जर्रे ने हमें मिलाने की साजिश की है.
absolutely
जिसको
correct.
दिल जान से
Absolutely.
चाहो तो पूरी कायनात उसको आपसे मिलाने में लग जाती है. And that's so
Absolutely.
true. So
That's
अपनी
very
life में love लाओ,
हाँ.
love for your work, love for your parents, love for your country, love for your teachers, love for whatever you love to do, and the world will make you successful. I think that's so important. So well said, Renu ma'am. Thank you very much. A couple of questions, and Vivek, I'd like you to pick them up. So I'll club 2 questions because we're short of time. The first question is, why am I so impatient all the time? This is again by an anonymous attendee. So sorry, I'm not mentioning the name. I wish I knew your name. And second question is, we all want money in our lives, and we want to do anything for money. And why is that so important? Why is money so important? And I know, Vivek, you talk about both these questions, impatience and money. You want to give a thought on this?
I think the answer lies in what Renu ma'am and you were saying just now about love. And it's very strange, you might think that my answer lies in that, but let me explain. When you love something and you're in the midst of that activity or with that person, you will not be impatient. You will never feel restless. You'll want to be there for longer. You'll want to do that thing for longer. When you love something keenly, you will never want to get away from there to something else. So whenever you are working, whenever you are reading, whenever you're playing, doing something where your heart is involved, your impatience will reduce. It is only when life is giving you zabardasti kinds of things that you are impatient. And when these zabardasti kind of things are a part of your life, or people who are part of your life, then you have to develop patience. Work hard on it. Work hard on yourself. Your restlessness will then reduce. And if that restlessness reduces, then obviously your life will improve. And money is when I said you don't need a big car, I still meant that you need a car. So money needs to be there in adequacy. You need to have sufficient amount of money, and comfort levels need to be there. But you don't need to be the richest person in India or the world. And you don't need to go bonkers running after money. So it is basically a necessity, which we all need to work for, but we don't need to go mad over it.
And I'd like to add, Vivek, and this is for young children over here, that I can assure you, young children, that money will not be a problem for any of you. India economically is growing very rapidly, and you all are probably 14 to 18 years old. By the time you'll be 30, 35, I can almost guarantee that all of you can buy the car you want, you can buy the house you
Absolutely.
want. It's just economics. So,
Absolutely correct.
Atul, you got the biggest compliment with someone is saying, sir, please do not end this session.
well, thank you very much. I think for all of us, unfortunately, time and tide don't stop for anyone, as they say. So we'll have to move on. But thank you so much for the compliment. Suman is saying the basic idea of the new education policy is good, but actually, we have that kind of infra? I think it's about all in the mind. I think infras will be developed. It's about, do we have the intent to implement the new education policy? I think it's all about the intent. I do know that many of us have that intent. And I think once intent is there, money will flow in, infra will come in, resources will come into place. So I'm very, very confident about the future of the country, the future of all of us. Corona is not going to stay there forever. I think it's a matter of a few months. We've already made huge progress. So go back to the mirror, dear students, dear teachers, dear parents, and smile at the mirror, because smiling releases dopamine and oxytocin, which are happiness hormones. And the happier you are, students, the more you're going to succeed. Happiness creates success. Success need not create happiness. So remember that. So last question for you, Vivek, because this is about the IES and we get this question all the time. How do you prepare for the IES?
Yeah, so I see this from a class 6 student, if I'm right. Panchul Nagar is asking at class 6. So Panchul, I think you take about 4 years in just developing your GK, take interest in reading a lot of books. Once you are in class 10 or 11, then you can see the syllabus of the UPSC exam and then start deciding how to prepare. But work on your GK and your personality this moment. Don't worry about the IAS. You might next year or by class 8, you might want to be a rocket scientist or something. So just don't worry. Just
but Vivek, I'd like to make one very important point. I don't know how true it is, but and I never prepared for the IAS, and I know you coach a lot of students. But in the prelims, I think the 9th and 10th standard NCRT books are what you have to study for. So if you are, if you do it well, those will come into handy when you're preparing and you're applying for the IAS.
You're absolutely right. We have a tie-up, Shulini and our Vivek IAS Career Academy. We're training a lot of students online. If anybody is interested, you can get in touch with us. But Atul is right. Ultimately, you have to go back to those class 7th to 10th books and read them again. So read your books, study material also very well. Absolutely. I think Adya has mentioned 2 very nice quotes about, and then Adya is also mentioning something about the education system, which is quite a good comment. I'm sorry if Adya is a senior teacher and I shouldn't be calling her Adya, but well
Adya is a student only.
Okay, then it's fine.
Fantastic.
Then it's fine. Well done, Adya.
Amazing thoughts, Adya. Completely agree with you. I think my one last thought before I hand it over to Renu ma'am and Vivek is, it's very natural for us to say no to anything. I'll say I've got this idea. It's very natural to say, yeah, this won't work. Ye kaam nahi karega. So I'll encourage all of you to, rather than say no, give a solution which is a superior solution to that idea. So for example, I would say, let us do a webinar. Just a thought. And you would say, no, webinars are boring. So rather than say, let's not do something, say that, why don't we, all of us come together and do a discussion amongst ourselves? That might be a superior solution than just doing another webinar. So in your mindset, bring that positivity, students. In your mindset, just don't say no. Stop saying no. The day you stop saying no, you'll start seeing positive things happening. Or if you say no, add a reason for how the no can become a yes. So I hope that helped. Aditya is 9 years old, wants to be an IS officer. So wish you good luck, Aditya. I think that's a
Same answer for him.
same answer for you. And it's very noble, but there are lots and lots of amazing professions in this world. Take your time, explore, and then decide. And Yashovardhan, of course, is saying thank you. I think we're coming to an end, Vivek. We're 2
Yes.
minutes over. And as I always end, I'm going to ask all of you to give me 30 seconds of last thoughts. So I'm going to start with Mukta ma'am and end with Vivek. So Mukta ma'am, 30 seconds of last thoughts.
Thank you, Atul. I think uncertain times, as we all call them, and if we call them uncertain times, still after 1 year of pandemic, I think we have not evolved. So I would change the word and call it evolving times, and say, you know, thank God to these times, our senile brains that had been so programmed, so customized, I would say, by what we used to feed them every day, getting up in the morning, you know, rushing for work, same kind of routine, coming back in the evenings, leaving everything to mates. I think we have evolved as educators, we have evolved as mothers, we have evolved as human beings. So I see a silver lining in all these. I would say it is just not difficult to be versatile. This is what has taught us. And as somebody you know, talked about money, I would like to you know, emphatically say this to young generation, that this epidemic has taught us that money is no longer important. You saw you know, richest of people craving to get a seat in hospital or having all the money with them and asking for oxygen. I think what we require is technology, what we require is versatility, what we require is adaptability, and most important, what it has taught us is, I would say, the power of hard work, the power of discipline. You know, whether it was protecting yourself from the pandemic, or it was somebody unfortunate who had it and, you know, coming out of it, evolving out of it strong, all this required hard work. And it required a lot of, you know, determination. It required hard work, and that has absolutely nothing to do with money. All it has to do is with discipline, which this younger generation needs to evolve. And as parents and as educators, I think we have done it quite well. We have all learned that doing your own dishes isn't that difficult. It is not impossible to mop and clean your own house. It is not impossible to evolve as a teacher. Overnight, you know, develop technologies that can bring tremendous change in lives of our students. So I would like to applaud all of us educators, Atul, Vivek, those of us who have power, you know, to communicate our thoughts to the younger generation, and you know, bring in them the adaptability and the ability to adapt their senile brains and to go beyond ordinary. And I think the difference between ordinary and extraordinary is no longer in the social status in these days. It is all about the resilience. It is all about evolving. It is all about adaptability. That's
Thank
it.
you,
I think
Mukta
I
ma'am.
had
Quite
30
a
seconds.
wonderful thought. Absolutely great thoughts. Thank you very much. Renu ma'am, 30 seconds.
Yeah, I think Mukta has covered most of the things, but I, like you said, forgiveness. I always tell my children, believe in 3F, forgive, forget, and forward. So if that is the motto, you forgive and then you forget and move forward, because life has to move on and we all have to move on. And again, I would say after 3F, 3P, preparations, perseverance, and patience. You know, so you need to have patience and persevere your thing to have, and for that you have to prepare yourself. So mentally, if children are prepared, like one of the students said about anger. So you know, if you take a particular decision in the angry moment, I tell you, your decisions are totally changed if you wait for a while, have a glass of water, cool down, and then you think upon the same thing. You will realize that your decisions are different than what it was done in the mode of anger. So I would always say that keep smiling, have love for each other, care for the family, look after your loved ones in the family, and be happy. If you are happy, like you said, you can achieve many more things. And like Mukta said, money is not everything. Yes, money is important to some extent. Money will automatically come if you have the preparations, you have the patience, and you have the perseverance. You will achieve your goal. Keep hoping, and your faith and hope has to be at a very high level. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Renu ma'am. And before I have Vivek give his final remarks and we close for the day, we have Lavya asking us why students are not satisfied. I think that's human beings. We as human beings are always wanting more. So at least my perspective is don't worry too much. Our students are doing fine. Our children are doing fine. I think we just need to let them blossom. I've seen very naughty children like me. I was very, very naughty, and I am reasonably disciplined now. Vivek can vouch for that. So don't worry too much, Lavya ma'am. I'm sure your kids will do well. My last thoughts are going to be ask questions. Learn to ask questions, students, teachers. The more questions you can ask, the better you're going to be. And I'm so impressed by Adya. So Adya, if you're listening to me, you are, I think, going to do extremely well because you are thinking, and that's what we need. We need people who think. And I'll be very keen to meet you 10 years down the line because I know you're going to do extremely well in life. So I'd love to hear from you 10 years down the line. Drop a mail, keep me updated about what's really happening with the life. And I want to prove to the world that here was Adya and she did very well because she had a thinking mind. And I'm sure. Just keep your head on your shoulders. Be honest to yourself, and you'll just do well. So thank you, Adya, for your wonderful comments. And Vivek, over to you.
Atul, I would like to add, Adya is a wonderful painter. She's very creative, and in our school calendar, we have her creation this year. She's extremely creative.
So I'm going to request Adya to give one painting of hers to Shulini, and we'll put her painting in a library so that is there for centuries to come. So we'll look forward to that, Adya. Thank you very much.
Sure.
Vivek, you're up.
Yes, I am really fascinated by the discussion. Great thoughts, Renu ma'am, Mukta ma'am, Atul. I think I'll just say that I also have 3 C's. Ma'am had P's, I have 3 C's. So these are calmness, cheerfulness, creativity, which I spoke about in my talk. I'm sure that Adya has a lot of friends who are equally talented. All students are extremely intelligent. Work on your emotional intelligence and stability. Stay connected, stay in touch, and all the best.
Thank you, Vivek. And we'll have Shikha. I'll request her to come and do the word of thanks if she's around. Thank you, Shikha, for organizing this, and Renu ma'am and Mukta ma'am for giving us the opportunity. But
Thank
Shikha,
you.
there?
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Atul sir, Vivek sir. It was really a very wonderful session. So much for all of us to learn. We have learned 3 P's, 3 F's, and so many things. Wonderful stories from Renu ma'am and Professor Atul Khosla, Mr. Vivek. And thank you, Mukta ma'am, for organizing this all. And thank you, my dear parents and teachers and students who are watching this live. Thank you so much.
Have a great day. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank
Stay
you so
safe.
much, Atul sir, Vivek sir. The honor was all ours. Thank you so much, and looking forward for another fruitful discussion tomorrow.
Sure. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.